What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Player Ratings as Spurs lost 2-0 to Arsenal in the North London derby yesterday. And let's get straight into it, starting with Hugo Lloris. Sim gives him a 2. I gave him a 3, and started it off really dodgy with some really poor playing out the back, but did make up for it with a really good save from Nketiah. And then the disaster class happened with that own goal. I mean, cross comes in from Nketiah, from Saka, and he basically just pushes the ball into his own net. It's absolutely terrible, terrible, terrible mistake. And that led Arsenal on their way to the victory. And I think Lloris, apart from that, did make a number of positive saves throughout the game, but ultimately not good enough. And these mistakes are becoming too much of occurrence now. And I don't know, man. Lloris, he's coming to the end.
Yeah, sad to see, to be honest. He made some good saves, a couple from Nketiah, one from Odegaard, but at the end of the day, first goal was absolutely atrocious. I thought he was nervy on the ball all game. That mistake he makes right at the beginning of the game when Martinelli's closing him down, he's got so much time to get rid of it and pass it, and he takes so much time on the ball. He's like asking to be tackled. It ends up nearly getting tackled, and then I think a lot of his kicking was poor throughout. And I think the second goal as well, I mean, it's a good strike from Odegaard, don't get me wrong, but I think maybe Hugo of yesteryear might have been able to stop that, but unfortunately didn't react quick enough, couldn't get low to it. Not taking away from the goal, but I think it wasn't unstoppable. I don't think you call that goal an unstoppable strike. So both goals you definitely could do better, but mostly I mark him down for that first goal because it's so bad. Like, it's one of the worst mistakes you'll see this season from a goalkeeper. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's move on to Christian Romero. Sim gives him a 3, I gave him a 5, and we were talking before the game how important it is if we're going to get anything out of this game for Cuti Romero to have a top performance. But unfortunately, he wasn't really the Cuti Romero which we love to see. He got given a bit of a run around from the Arsenal attack at times. I thought for Odegaard's goal, he was the one that really should have got closer to Odegaard to snuff him out. He was just given way too much time. Apart from that, not too much to say.
I thought he was really bad, to be honest, throughout the game. Lucky to stay on the pitch. There was a moment he got early booking, and then they had a thing in the second half where he made a terrible foul on the halfway line, and the referee waved play on to play the advantage. And I think,
do you think the first one was a booking though?
I can't remember it, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I don't remember.
Kind of like he just slipped and then they gave him a booking.
I haven't seen it back, but all I'm saying is the second, on a booking, the second one was 100% a booking, and he got so lucky that the referee played advantage. Because I think if it's just if it was just in play, I think and the referee gives a free kick, I reckon he gives a second yellow because he was so late to it. So he got lucky to stay on the pitch, in my opinion. That early chance for Nketiah, which he missed, I don't know what Romero was doing, but he's all over the place, and Nketiah gets an opportunity, and Lloris bails him out in that instance. And I just thought he was second to a lot of the tackles yesterday. He did make some good tackles, and there were some moments where he was being aggressive and being on the front foot and getting Spurs up the pitch, but I thought by and large it was a really poor display.
Yeah, have to agree, to be honest. But let's move on to Eric Dyer. Sim gives him a 4, I gave him a 6. Again, defensively, there were some good moments, mostly bad moments. We just struggled to deal with Arsenal's attack, especially in that first half. And Dyer's the one usually getting it on the floor and pinging it around. I remember one really good pass to Sessegnon where he teed up Heung-min Son for a shot, but apart from that, didn't really impact anything going forward, and found wanting in defence.
Yeah, there was that one pass, but I thought his passing was actually generally poor by his standards throughout the game. Overhit, lacking accuracy. Defensively, I actually thought he struggled with Nketiah quite a bit. He ended up getting booked in the second half, and I thought in the first half he was getting pulled apart quite badly. Didn't think he was the worst of the back line, but I did think he was poor as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I think he was the best out of the back line, to be honest. But let's move on to Clement Lenglet to finish up that back line. And Sim gives him a 3, I gave him a 5. I mean, he was just given the run around by Bukayo Saka for pretty much the majority of the game. I was worried about him in the one-on-one situations, and I think that came to the fore. And I think he just wasn't aggressive enough up against his man, and we didn't see anything really from him going forward.
Yeah, second half we saw a bit, but his crossing was inaccurate, wasn't able to impact the game. First half, struggled badly defensively, tried to cover for Sessegnon on that left-hand side and tried his best, but Saka was too quick and too strong. I thought on the ball as well, he was uncharacteristically lacking in composure with his passing. That early moment early in the game where Lloris put him in trouble and he nearly gives away a goal, Longley, and then I think a lot of his passing wasn't great throughout the game as well. And I think in these big games, to be honest, I think Longley's been a good player for us, but I think in these big games he's been found wanting a lot.
Yeah, and we were talking a lot about Longley coming into this game, and I was told you that look, he's been all right, but he hasn't been. A lot of people were saying, oh yeah, maybe we should keep him around for next season. But ultimately, we need better quality than this. And let's move on to the right wing back in Matt Doherty. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 5. Can't really remember anything he did throughout the game positive, to be honest. Defensively, he was okay. But, Martinelli still got the better of him the majority of times, and he did nothing going forward.
Yeah, he struggled badly to deal with Martinelli. Martinelli was getting tight to him, but his close control and dribbling, and Matt Doherty didn't stand a chance really up against him throughout the game, which I thought would be the case. And then obviously going forward, he has his opportunities to get forward, but no quality. Wasn't really linking up with Kulusevski like he usually does. So it wasn't a great game for Matt Doherty, in my opinion. Wasn't really. I think for a player of his quality, I think that's where he's at in these kind of games, in my opinion. He can impact games against lesser opposition, but once he hits the top 6, he's not up to scratch.
Yeah, like a lot of players on our team, to be honest.
Yeah.
Moving on to the midfield, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, 5s all round from us. I've been saying that I have been a bit worried about his performances of late, and this game was no different, to be honest. He worked hard like he always does, but ultimately got completely overran in that midfield by that really strong Arsenal midfield in Partey, Xhaka and Odegaard. There was one positive moment going forward that I can remember where he put in a cross into the box, but yeah, another poor display, to be honest.
I thought he was pretty good in the second half, actually, and I thought he really the reason why we were back in the game is a large part down to his improved display. First half, he was pulled all over the shop and couldn't get near the midfield 3. You could say it's down to tactics or down to himself, but he couldn't get near them. He was pulled apart. As you said, put a good ball into Harry Kane right at the end of the half, which forced a good save out of Ramsdale, but that was it for the first half for him. But second half, genuinely, I thought he was strong. I thought he actually started to deal with Odegaard aggressively. He won the ball back a number of times, and we gave ourselves we were more in the game in the second half, and I think he was actually quite decent, but overall disappointing.
Moving on to his partner in Pape Matar Sarr, 6s all round from us, making his debut in the Premier League in a North London derby. And look, I thought that he obviously didn't grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and he didn't spur us on to do much. But I thought he kept it simple for the most part. He broke up play pretty well and kept the ball ticking. And I thought he actually looked better over the course of the time he was on the pitch than his partner in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And he looks at home. He looks at home in the Premier League, and he looks at home in this Tottenham side. And I'd like to see more of him, but I still want to see him improve, obviously.
Yeah, made some nice tackles and interceptions generally around the penalty area, although he did make one good interception high up the pitch off Thomas Partey, and unfortunately the touch just couldn't get us in an attacking position.
Yeah.
But generally he was pretty decent. There was some good moments where he was composed inside his own half as well, and willing to not just panic and kick the ball out of play, and willing to be a bit press resistant and fight the challenges and ride them, and it was okay, but there were unfortunately a number of times he was quite out of position, and Odegaard was getting in those pockets of space. He wasn't able to track him, and I felt like in the second half he did wane a bit in influence, but I thought for a debut for his age in this kind of game, I thought he did pretty well, so fair play to Sarr.
Yeah, absolutely. Does he keep his place for next game if Bentancur's not fit?
If Bentancur's not fit, yeah, probably. Well, for City, actually, I would go with 3 in the middle for City and just try and go as direct as possible.
So Salah has to play then?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, keep it. Yeah.
Let's move on to left. The wing back, Ryan Sessegnon. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. And we all questioned this choice in the lineup when the lineups did come out. And judging on the performance, we were right to question it because he had a poor display. He got completely torn a new one by Bukayo Saka on that side of the pitch. Going forward, he did get himself in some good positions quite regularly, to be honest, but his crossing was absolutely terrible. He did have that one chance where he was 1-1 with the keeper who forced a good save out of Ramsdale, but some of those crosses were just atrocious from Sessegnon yesterday.
Yeah, especially there was a couple right in the first few minutes where Spurs were actually looking aggressive and good, and then we get Sessegnon in space on the left-hand side, and he's unable to do anything with time and space on the left, and that was very disappointing. I thought Saka, to be honest, taught him a bit of a lesson on that side about how to play up against your man. Whenever Saka got close, he was able to outmuscle him and turn him. Whenever Sessegnon was getting up close to him off the ball, he was able to spin in behind and attack the space like he did with the first goal. Whenever Saka got the ball, basically, Sessegnon didn't know what to do. He did end up getting booked in the first half as well for persistent fouling, because I think he made 3 or 4 fouls because he just couldn't live with Saka throughout that first half. To be fair to Sessegnon, on the positive side, he grew a bit more into the game after those moments. He set up a chance for Son after the first goal, after a good run. And then obviously he got played in by Harry Kane in the second half and forced a very good save out of Ramsdale. But apart from those couple of moments, his quality was lacking, and I think defensively struggled badly.
Let's move on to the attacking line in Dejan Kulusevski. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. First half, he was fairly anonymous, as Spurs' attacking threat was absolutely anonymous after those first 10 minutes. But I thought in the second half, as Spurs grew, he also grew, and he was probably our biggest threat going forward in that second half, albeit not to the greatest amount of quality.
Yeah, I thought, to be fair to Kulusevski, when he did actually have the ball to feet, I thought he had the beating of Zinchenko on that side when he was able to take him on. Unfortunately, it was few and far between in the first half anyway. Wasn't able to get on the ball enough. He was fairly anonymous in that first half, I have to say. But second half, once we were able to actually get the ball a bit and put some pressure on Arsenal, I actually thought he did quite well. He was actually beating Zinchenko fairly regularly. He was spamming some decent quality crosses from that side and doing some good link-up play as well. Unfortunately, it felt maybe a bit too little too late. Can't remember too many shots he had. He had a couple of efforts over the bar, didn't he? Which maybe you feel like could have done better with.
Had one on target as well,
didn't he?
He
did have one on target. Yeah, apparently. I can't remember it, to be honest, but he did have one on target. I thought he did decent in the second half, and he was one of our biggest threats, but unfortunately, we paid for anonymous first half display.
Yeah. Heung-min Son, Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. And another really lackluster display from Sonny, unfortunately. Touch was off. His passing was completely off. Lost the ball, I think, 14 times throughout the game as well. And he's just not in the groove at the moment. He hasn't been in the groove all season, to be honest. And I don't know what to do with Sonny. Do you persist with him? Do you try and play him into form? Because that's what we've been trying to do all season. Or do we take him out of the team for a couple of games with Richarlison being back fit now? I don't know what to do with him, but his performances are really dreadful at the moment.
Yeah, I think he struggled again with playing a bit deep, not playing on the shoulder. I think that maybe comes down to a lack of creativity around him, which is feeling the need to come a bit deep and trying to pick up the ball near the halfway line. He's trying to take people on in congested areas and too often losing the ball in dangerous areas and putting Spurs under pressure. I don't like, as much as I love Son and he works so hard for the team, don't get me wrong, but I hate it when I see him having to track back like a wing back or a full-back like Ben White, because I just know he's 30 years old now and he doesn't have the energy anymore to consistently be tracking back and then going back and going on a counter-attack and lung-busting runs all the time. And I think he could do it when he was like, early 20s and mid-20s, but now you're getting 30. He needs to be smarter with his pace, and we need him in those forward areas. It's a bit like obviously he's not on Messi's level, but it's a bit like Messi, how you see him like off the ball. He doesn't do much defending because he knows he needs to save his energy for those attacking phases. And I feel like Son is getting to that stage where he needs to do that. And unfortunately, with the tactics we're in, he does it. He has to track Ben White all the way back, and it's difficult for him. He did have a couple of chances throughout the game. Obviously, one from Sessegnon set him up, and it was a good save from Ramsdale. And then one in the second half, which Kane set up, and it blazed over the bar. But other than that, wasn't really involved in the game. When he was involved, his touch was poor. He was too easily dispossessed, and it's another poor display from Sonny. I think maybe the best way to do it, I think, is to change to a 3-5-2, get him up front, and then maybe having him less tracking back for that way, and maybe that'd be the best way to get the best out of him. Because right now in the 3-4-3. It's twofold. He's in congested areas, and then he's doing a lot of tracking back, and it's causing poor displays from him.
The problem is that every formation, whatever formation we go for, 3-4-3, 3-5-2, we just find problems with it and we don't have the personnel to play either, to be honest. So we're stuck in a bit of a bad situation at the moment. But let's move on to the final man of the starting 11, Harry Kane. 6s all round. Fairly anonymous in the first half, but had a chance against Ramsdale right at the end of that first half, as he did right at the beginning of the second half as well. I thought he dramatically improved in that second half. He became chief orchestrator once again, laying on chances for Sessegnon, for Heung-min Son, having chances himself as well. And he was trying to galvanise the lads and really take the game by the scruff of the neck, but ultimately the game was done.
For me, he was our best player on the day. He tried so hard. Even in the first half, early doors, I remember early on, he looked really on it. He was going on the dribble, getting past Saliba, playing in Sessegnon on the left-hand side a number of times. And I thought, all right, hey, Harry Kane's on it today. But I think Arsenal's dominance told, and he gained less and less influence in that first half up until, I think it was that chance he had right at the end of the first half with a header from Højbjerg cross. Second half, he came out again fighting right from the start, setting up chances for Sessegnon, setting up chances for Son, which went begging. Obviously, had a shot which was a good save from Ramsdale. And as well, what was I actually quite impressed with, to be fair, he won 3 out of his 5 aerial duels up against Saliba and Gabriel, and that's no mean feat. I think he did really well to win some headers and flick-ons, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. I think a lot of the time he was let down by players around him, and wasn't involved enough in that first half to make a difference. So disappointing in the end for him not to break the record. I'm sure that he'll be disappointed with that. But I did think he tried his best on the day. I really did. Yeah,
he did. And let's move on to the manager, Antonio Conte. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. He's coming under a lot of criticism of late. And I can definitely understand the criticism in terms of tactical flexibility, personnel changes as well. I thought the decision to start Sessegnon was wrong, but I think we did need one of Sessegnon or Emerson on that pitch to combat Martinelli and Saka. But I think even if he went for Perisic, I don't think that it would have changed the result too much, to be honest. But it definitely would have given us more quality in that final third, and maybe in those opening stages when we saw Sessegnon in really good positions of that pitch, areas of that pitch. Maybe if we had Perisic in those areas of the pitch, we might have scored in the opening stages of the game. I think that starting Pape Matar Sarr, I think that was the right decision because I think he had a fairly good game. But he needs to have some tactical flexibility. He needs to be able to change things while in game to swing the game in our favour. Albeit at half time, he must have got into them because we did have a much better performance in that second half. But the game was over by then, and we say it time and time again. Like, we need to figure out why we're starting games so slowly, or, we started well for the 10 minutes, but why we're going down 2-0 to every good side that we're playing so far this season. It's not good enough, and the manager needs to be held accountable for it. As much as, we know what the real problems are at this club, the manager doesn't, alleviate himself from any of the blame, and Conte's definitely part of that.
Yeah, when it comes to the tactics and stuff, I think he has serious questions to answer for in this specific game. What was the plan to deal with Odegaard? I don't know. It's almost as if we didn't have a plan. Playing 2 in the middle. Look, I was calling for 3-4-3 at the start before the game, but you have to have a plan to deal with. Zinchenko is going to cut inside and become like another midfielder. Odegaard's going to drop in those spaces. We're going to be outnumbered. So you have to have a plan for it. And whether it means the wing backs tucking inside, whether it means Kulusevski maybe making a third centre midfielder, you have to do something. And unfortunately, it was too rigid for me throughout the game, especially off the ball. We were carved open in that first half time and time again. And it was only a matter of time before Arsenal scored. I know there's only so much he can do when Lloris is chucking the ball in his own net, but he has to take responsibility for the ease in which Arsenal were able to get through us and play through our press. Second half, yeah, it was better, but unfortunately it was too little too late. And I think that tactically Conte has serious questions to answer for me in this game. And it was a really poor display from him. And I also think he should have changed it even after half an hour. I think he waited too long. Half time was too long. The game was over. I think there are some games... I understand some games where he waits just to see how it plays out, but there are some games where it's going that badly that it needs an instant change. And I think you could see it in that game against Arsenal that it needed an instant change as soon as possible. And he waited till half time and it was done by then. So that was a shame. And
you do have to caveat it though with like lack of options, lack of investment, and all that kind of stuff. But if you're going solely on just from a tactical aspect, yeah, you're absolutely spot on. But that is your player ratings for today. 2-0 against Arsenal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday. We'll see you all soon for the 5 takeaways coming up next. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.